everyone, this is Weiwei. I'm a Mandarin teacher based in Beijing. Today, I would like to share the following questions which are puzzling to some students. 1. Why do Chinese people not understand me when I speak Mandarin? I would like to start with my own experience. When I was studying in university, one day I was walking down the hallway and there's a foreigner with blonde hair came to me and said, or rather asked, 厕所. I could tell that she was in a hurry, but didn't understand what she was saying. So I responded, huh? With a puzzled face. And then she repeated, 厕所. I still didn't get it. But during that period of time, I was also very keen with studying English. So in my head, I said to myself, you idiot, you memorized so many words and still do not know what 厕所 means? At the end, she said, toilet. Oh, over there. It was then that I understood. So why do I, as a native Chinese speaker, do not understand a simple Chinese word, 厕所? When I started teaching Mandarin and reflected on it, things dawned on me. When I see an expat with a foreign face and maybe blonde hair, in my mind, it directly tells me that he or she is a foreigner and she is speaking English. Therefore, my expectation is that she is speaking English. However, I was searching the English words in the library of my brain. This confused me and might also confuse other Chinese people. Think about when you ask questions in your language. You do not ask questions with only one word, especially without any context. It is the same with Chinese people. For example, asking where is the toilet? Chinese people would start with a whole question sentence, like 你好，你知道厕所在哪儿吗? Or 你好，厕所在哪儿? So even though I didn't get the word 厕所, perhaps because the pronunciation or tones are incorrect, but at least I can get 你好 and 吗. So when I analyze the sentence in my head, I know that she is speaking Chinese with me, and it's a question. So when she repeats the question, it will be easier for me to understand. Beyond that, when you talk with Chinese people, try to start with a simple Chinese word that would ensure they know you are speaking Mandarin with them. For example, 你好, 请问, etc. I would like to recommend 你好. It is easy for you to say and also easier for Chinese people to understand. It will tell the Chinese listener that you are speaking Chinese with them. And now you can ask a question and make sure you use a whole sentence. It will help Chinese people to understand you. Maybe you are thinking, I just know the word. It is difficult to say a whole sentence. I would like to suggest memorizing some practical Chinese sentences once you start your Chinese learning journey. Be patient. Most Chinese people has never traveled abroad and live in an environment with no foreigners. So they are not familiar with your accent, especially beginners. Sometimes we also do not understand someone Chinese has a different accent from another region. When I first time came to Beijing, I have no idea what the bus ticket seller is mumbling about. And please, try to repeat the question if they didn't understand you the first time or even the second time. And also, try to use another way to ask the same thing if they still didn't get it after a few times of trying. For instance, after trying to say 你好，厕所在哪儿? You also can say 你好，在哪儿洗手? Where do I wash my hands? Sometimes the person you're talking with didn't catch it, but the person next to him or her gets it. Because some of the Chinese people are quite nervous when talking with foreigners. First of all, they know the English is not fluent, and also they do not want to lose face in front of others. So some Chinese people refuse to talk or walk away when an expat approaching for questions or help. But most of Chinese people are cold outside, warm inside. It's like the igloo in the North Pole. One of my students was saying, when talking with the Chinese people, you need to say something like 3 times. The first time, he or she didn't understand at all. And the second time gives you a reaction with, oh, this foreigner is speaking Chinese. And the third time with a surprise, oh, I understand his or her Chinese, especially for beginners. But once you practice with Chinese people more often, your pronunciation will sound more natural, and then you do not need to suffer this awkward experience. 2. Why do they laugh or giggle when I speak Chinese? Students tell me makes them so uncomfortable, and sometimes it's quite irritating. My advice for this is try not to be offended, although you may feel embarrassed, but please take it as a nice response. I asked a lot of Chinese people, and all their response is that they think you are so cute and fascinating when you are speaking Chinese. And sometimes it is funny to hear an expat speak Chinese with foreign tones and foreign accent. But they are happy to hear that you are trying to talk with them in their language. Even if your pronunciations and tones are not perfect, at least you are trying. 3. Why do I get a huge praise when I only say one word in Chinese? For example, I'm just greeting with them 你好, and then they give me a huge praise. Wow, 你的汉语说得真好. Your Chinese is so good. Maybe in your head is saying, that is so fake. But actually, they are quite sincere. Because either your pronunciation is standard and clear, like 你好, or you put an exclamation at the end. For example, 是呀 sounds way more colloquial to Chinese person compared with just 是. 好啊 and 好呀 versus 好. 客气了 instead of 不客气. But most of the textbooks do not have these words at beginning level. So where do you learn these words? Try to start practicing with Chinese people once you start learning Chinese. Another common situation is that answering questions with 4-syllable Chinese phrases will impress Chinese people more. They will think your Chinese level must be super advanced to be able to understand it and use it. Chinese students also learn these words in higher grades, like 一石二鸟, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But I would suggest you do not learn these fancy 4-syllable phrases just because you want to impress Chinese people, especially with strangers, and you are at a beginning level. Because once they see you can use these fancy words, they will assume you know all the fancy words, and then it will become quite overwhelming. 4. Why some Chinese people speak so loudly? First, as the Chinese language itself, each syllable has a vowel, and it sounds louder if the syllable ends with a vowel. Another reason is that Mandarin has 4 tones, and the tones are mainly on the vowel. To enable it to sound clearly, it requires a louder voice. Second, the population is so big in China, and the living environment is dense and noisy, especially in the city, with the renovation noise all year round, or in the food market. In order to be heard by others, many people raise their voice unconsciously. The noisier the environment, the less stable people feel, and will be more anxious. It is inevitable that people speak loudly. In countryside, the distance is quite far while they are working on a farm. It is much more convenient for people to speak louder so others can hear, and then it becomes their habit. And third, in Chinese culture, it is considered good character if kids speak loudly. The kids' parents and teachers will praise them if they answer questions or read out loud. Maybe to them, this shows confidence and strength. The typical Chinese class size is quite big in school. My primary school had 40 students in my class. Then, in middle school, we had 70 students per class. Nowadays, in my hometown, in middle school is around 50 to 60 students per class under government's control. And in Beijing, primary school is around 20 students per class, and in middle school is around 40 students per class. If you want to catch someone's attention, you have to speak loudly. Plus, it is common all around the world that people speak louder when they repeat. Maybe to emphasize. I think it sounds louder for foreigners because you will get quite nervous when Chinese people repeat themselves. 5. Why do Chinese friends throw out one or two English words while we're chatting in Chinese? Last but not least, this is more for intermediate and advanced level. For my perspective, it's because that friend is quite good at English, and sometimes it is hard to find a proper Chinese word for it in that moment. It is much more convenient to just use the English word since there's not a Chinese equivalent. Overall, I hope these tips can help your Chinese learning. Please leave comments if you have any questions. And also, I would like to say thank you to all the students and friends who support me. I just started my channel. I know everything is a hard beginning. Please share this with your friends if you find it helpful. I will share more Chinese learning tips and cultures. If you want to support me and see more videos in the future, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye bye.